What are you running from? What truth are you so terrified to face that you'd rather live in the comfortable lie of mediocrity? When was the last time you looked at yourself in the mirror and asked the fundamental question, who am I really, beneath all these layers of excuses and self-deception? You see, there's something profoundly disturbing about the way we've organized our lives in the modern world. We've become experts at avoiding the very thing that would set us free, the confrontation with our own cowardice. And yes, I'm talking to you directly. You sitting there perhaps feeling a slight discomfort at being called out so directly. That discomfort, that's the first sign that we're onto something important. The human condition is fundamentally characterized by our capacity for self-awareness, and with that awareness comes an almost unbearable responsibility. We are the only creatures on this planet who can contemplate our own existence, who can project ourselves into the future, who can imagine alternative realities. But this gift comes with a terrible price, the knowledge that we are responsible for our choices, and that our choices have consequences that ripple through time in ways we can barely comprehend. You are a coward. And I don't say this to be cruel or dismissive. I say it because it's likely true, and because acknowledging this truth is the first step toward redemption. You're a coward because you've chosen the path of least resistance. You've chosen comfort over growth, safety over adventure, the known over the unknown. You've chosen to remain small when you could become large, to stay silent when you could speak up, to follow when you could lead. Think about it for a moment. How many times have you known exactly what you should do but chosen not to do it? How many opportunities have you let slip by because you were afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of the responsibility that comes with success? How many relationships have you allowed to deteriorate because you were too afraid to have the difficult conversation? How many dreams have you abandoned because the path toward them seemed too uncertain, too demanding? This is the tragedy of the modern human condition. We have more opportunities than any generation in human history, more tools at our disposal, more knowledge available to us, and yet we remain paralyzed by our own cowardice. We've created a culture that celebrates safety over courage, that encourages us to avoid discomfort at all costs, that tells us we deserve to be happy without having to work for it. But here's what they don't tell you. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Safety is the enemy of adventure. The avoidance of suffering is the pathway to meaninglessness. When you choose the easy path, when you avoid the difficult conversations, when you refuse to take responsibility for your life, you're not protecting yourself. You're slowly killing yourself. You're trading your potential for comfort, your dreams for security, your authentic self for social acceptance. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche wrote about the concept of the eternal return, the idea that if you had to live your life over and over again, exactly as it is for eternity, would you be able to embrace that fate? Would you be able to say yes to your life as it currently stands? Most of us, if we're honest, would have to say no. We'd have to admit that we're living a life that falls far short of what we're capable of, a life that we ourselves wouldn't choose to repeat. This is where the concept of consciousness becomes crucial. Consciousness is not just awareness, it's the ability to step outside of yourself and observe your own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with objectivity. It's the capacity to recognize patterns, to see how your past choices have led to your present circumstances, and to understand how your current choices will shape your future. But consciousness is also terrifying because it reveals the extent of our responsibility. When you become truly conscious, you can no longer pretend that your circumstances are purely the result of external factors. You can no longer blame your parents, your society, your genetics, or your circumstances for the quality of your life. You have to face the uncomfortable truth that you are, to a large extent, the author of your own story. And this is where most people turn away. This is where cowardice reasserts itself. Because once you accept responsibility for your life, you have to do something about it. You have to change. You have to grow. You have to become someone different than who you are right now. And that process is difficult, uncertain, and often painful. But here's the paradox. The very thing you're most afraid of, taking responsibility, facing uncertainty, embracing discomfort, is the only thing that will set you free. The only way out of your current predicament is through it. The only way to stop being a coward is to start acting courageously, even when you don't feel courageous. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's acting in spite of fear. It's not waiting until you feel ready, because you'll never feel ready. It's not waiting until you have all the information, because you'll never have all the information. It's not waiting until the path is clear, because the path is never clear. Courage is stepping into the unknown, with nothing but your commitment to growth, and your willingness to face whatever comes. Time is the most precious resource we have, and it's also the most commonly wasted. Every day you spend avoiding responsibility, every day you spend in comfortable mediocrity, every day you spend making excuses instead of taking action is a day you'll never get back. Time moves in only one direction, and it shows no mercy to those who squander it. The reality is that you're going to die. This isn't meant to be morbid, it's meant to be clarifying. You have a finite number of days on this earth, a finite number of opportunities to make a difference, a finite number of chances to become the person you're capable of being. Death is the great equalizer, but it's also the great motivator for those who are willing to face it honestly. When you truly understand the brevity of life, when you really grasp the fact that your time is limited and irreplaceable, it becomes much harder to waste it on things that don't matter. It becomes much harder to avoid the difficult conversations, to postpone the important decisions, to remain stuck in situations that are slowly draining your life force. The coward lives as if they have infinite time, as if they can always start tomorrow, as if their dreams can wait indefinitely. But the courageous person understands that time is scarce, that opportunities are fleeting, that the window for action is always smaller than we think it is. So let me ask you again, what are you waiting for? What magical moment are you expecting that will suddenly make everything clear, that will eliminate all risk, that will guarantee success? That moment is never coming. The only moment you have is this one, right now, and the only choice you have is how you're going to respond to it. Your life is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. This is the real thing. Every day you're writing the story of your life, and every choice you make is a word in that story. The question is, what kind of story are you writing? Is it a story of courage and growth and adventure? Or is it a story of fear and stagnation and missed opportunities? The beautiful thing about being human is that we have the capacity to change our story at any moment. We're not locked into our past patterns, our previous choices, our current circumstances. We have the power to choose differently, to act differently, to become different. But that power comes with a price. We have to be willing to let go of who we've been in order to become who we're meant to be. This is perhaps the most difficult aspect of personal transformation, the death of the old self. When you decide to stop being a coward, when you decide to take responsibility for your life, when you decide to pursue your authentic path, you're essentially killing the person you used to be. And that person, even if they were holding you back, even if they were making you miserable, is familiar. They're known, they're safe. But growth requires death and rebirth. It requires the willingness to let go of the familiar in order to embrace the unknown. It requires the courage to disappoint some people in order to become authentic. It requires the strength to face criticism, rejection, and failure in order to pursue what really matters. The reality is that most people around you are also living as cowards. They're also avoiding responsibility, also choosing comfort over growth, also settling for mediocrity. And they don't want you to change because your change threatens their own comfortable complacency. When you start taking responsibility for your life, when you start pursuing your dreams, when you start becoming the person you're meant to be, you become a mirror that reflects back to them their own cowardice. This is why transformation is often a lonely journey. This is why you can't wait for permission, for encouragement, for support from others. You have to find the strength within yourself to do what needs to be done, even when no one else understands, even when no one else believes in you, even when no one else thinks it's possible. But here's what I want you to understand. You are more powerful than you know. You are more capable than you believe. You are more resilient than you imagine. The fact that you're still here, the fact that you're still breathing, the fact that you're still capable of feeling that discomfort when confronted with your own cowardice, means that there's still life in you. There's still potential. There's still hope. The question is not whether you're capable of change. You are. The question is whether you're willing to pay the price that change requires. Are you willing to give up the familiar comforts of your current life? Are you willing to face the unknown? Are you willing to take responsibility for your choices and their consequences? Consider the nature of reality itself. We live in a universe that is fundamentally structured around growth, change, and transformation. Everything in nature is constantly evolving, constantly adapting, constantly becoming something new. The trees grow toward the light. The rivers carve new paths through the landscape. The species evolve and adapt to changing conditions. But humans have somehow convinced themselves that they can opt out of this fundamental law of existence. We've created lives that are designed to prevent change, to maintain the status quo, to keep everything exactly as it is. We've built elaborate systems of comfort and security that insulate us from the natural forces of growth and evolution. But you cannot opt out of life. You cannot avoid the fundamental requirements of existence. You cannot remain static in a universe that is constantly changing. When you try to avoid growth, when you try to maintain the status quo, when you try to keep everything exactly as it is, you're not preserving anything. You're actually moving backward. You're degenerating. You're dying. The universe doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your fears. It doesn't care about your excuses. It only cares about one thing, whether you're growing or whether you're dying. And if you're not growing, if you're not changing, if you're not becoming more than you were yesterday, then you're dying. This might sound harsh, but it's actually liberating. Once you accept that growth is not optional, that change is not a choice but a requirement, that you must either evolve or degenerate, then you stop wasting energy trying to maintain the impossible. You stop fighting against the fundamental nature of existence and start working with it. And when you start working with the natural forces of growth and change, when you start aligning yourself with the fundamental structure of reality, amazing things begin to happen. You discover strengths you didn't know you had. You find courage you didn't know you possessed. You develop skills you didn't know you could learn. But none of this happens automatically. It requires conscious choice, deliberate action, sustained effort. It requires you to stop being a coward and start being a warrior, not a warrior who fights against others, but a warrior who fights against their own limitations, their own fears, their own tendency toward mediocrity. This is the great battle of human existence, the battle between who you are and who you could become. It's the battle between your current self and your potential self. It's the battle between comfort and growth, between safety and adventure, between the known and the unknown. And here's the thing about this battle. You're going to have to fight it every single day. There's no final victory. No point at which you can declare yourself permanently transformed. Every day you wake up, you have to choose again. Every day you have to decide whether you're going to act courageously or cowardly, whether you're going to take responsibility or make excuses, whether you're going to grow or stagnate. This is both the burden and the gift of human consciousness. We are condemned to be free, as Jean-Paul Sartre put it. We are condemned to choose, condemned to take responsibility, condemned to create meaning in a universe that offers no guarantees. But this condemnation is also our greatest opportunity. It's what makes us human. It's what gives our lives meaning and purpose. It's what allows us to transcend our circumstances and become something greater than what we were born to be. So I challenge you to stop being a coward. I challenge you to stop making excuses. I challenge you to stop waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect circumstances, the perfect opportunity. I challenge you to take responsibility for your life, right now, exactly as it is. Start with something small. Start with something that scares you just a little bit. Start with a conversation you've been avoiding, a decision you've been postponing, a dream you've been neglecting. Take one small step toward the person you want to become, and then take another, and then another. Don't wait until you feel ready. Don't wait until you have all the answers. Don't wait until the path is clear. Start where you are, with what you have, in the circumstances you're in. The path will become clear as you walk it. The answers will come as you ask the questions. The readiness will come as you ask the questions. The readiness will come as you take action. Remember, you are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fears. You are not your limitations. You are the choices you make, moment by moment, day by day. You are the actions you take, the words you speak, the stand you take when it matters. You have within you right now everything you need to begin the transformation. You have consciousness, which allows you to see clearly. You have will, which allows you to choose. You have the capacity for action, which allows you to change your circumstances. You have the ability to learn, which allows you to grow and adapt. The only question is, will you use these gifts? Will you step into your power? Will you embrace your responsibility? Will you stop being a coward and start being the hero of your own story? The time for excuses is over. The time for waiting is over. The time for playing small is over. The time for being a coward is over. The time for transformation is now. You have been avoiding the very thing that would set you free, and that thing is the full assumption of responsibility for your own life. Take it up, pick up your suffering and bear it. Transform yourself into someone who can bear the tragic responsibility of existence, and in doing so you'll transform the world around you. Your life is calling you to greatness. Your potential is calling you to actualization. Your authentic self is calling you to expression. Will you answer that call? Will you have the courage to become who you're meant to be? The choice is yours. The moment is now. The power is within you. Stop being a coward. Start being courageous. Start taking responsibility. Start changing your life. If this message has stirred something within you, if you recognize yourself in these words, if you're ready to stop being a coward and start taking responsibility for your life, then I want you to take the first step right now. Write in the comments below, I will change my mindset now, and make that commitment not just to me, but to yourself. Your future self is waiting for you to have the courage to begin.